Ad fraud is a huge issue in 2025. Still, we've been talking about this for decades. It costs advertisers billions of dollars every single year. Some studies say it's $30 billion in the US now. Globally, we're seeing 120 billion. It's absolutely wild. And I think it's really because of a few reasons. Firstly, on the technical side, CTV infrastructure wasn't built with anti-fraud at its core. It wasn't built with it at its heart. We have cool technologies like SSAI, server-side ad insertion, that allow ads to be inserted in a video stream on the server side. Really cool, a lot of cool pros for the industry. But it also means so-called fraudsters can use this technology. They can generate non-human impressions. They can create huge ad requests at scale. Secondly, operationally, man, we have a complex supply chain. We have an opaque supply chain where we have tons of intermediaries in the middle that make it really difficult to verify inventory quality. Even the way we talk about reporting and transparency is all a little bit different, further complicating this opacity of the supply chain. Thirdly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the financial incentives that can perpetuate fraud. CTV is a high CPM space. Simply put, fraudsters follow the money here. The programmatic model rewards volume. So when we have intermediaries that prioritize volume over quality, we're bound to see bad actors generate profit, generate fake traffic and impressions that can be hidden as legitimate traffic. And I think fourthly, when we find fraud, we as an industry don't really know what to do. We play whack-a-mole here. We don't really speak in a cohesive voice. We don't have any way to impose penalties or clawbacks or any sort of punitive measure at scale here. So what we're seeing is fraud really metastasize, I think is the word, into CTV. They're using new technologies. They're using metadata in really creative ways. They're spoofing this and that. To that, I recently learned about a case where fraudsters, where bad actors were spoofing $40, $50 CTV impressions or $40, $50 CTV CPMs, but were actually running on a single pixel on a smart refrigerator that they had taken over the OS. This is mind-boggling to me. So think you're the brand. You think you're inserting high-quality advertising into a high-quality streaming content, but it's actually running on a single pixel, non-viewable, on grandma's fridge. Crazy stuff.
So are major brands such as Pepsi, are they able or unable to do enough to combat ad fraud? Or does this take a few major brands, or does it take the industry at large?
It's a tough question. I think the way the industry remunerates itself, the way the industry pays itself, makes it very challenging to completely eliminate ad fraud. For better or for worse, CPM is a North Star in our space, meaning in an already opaque supply chain, we have tons of intermediaries that are paid off of a percentage of media spent or paid off of volume of ads served. So what this means is that the fraudsters know this as well. They're able to hide what is fake and invalid traffic in the folds, if you will, the normal payment cycles between us in this space. So to this, working with folks like DoubleVerify, and there's other folks like this, absolutely critical. These guys provide an independent, verifiable lens, a level of transparency to what is essentially a black box of processes for most major brands. Though I will say, working with these guys is critical, but it's not where it should end, or this conversation should end. We absolutely have to come together as an industry, buy side, sell side, agencies, all the folks in between, to come together if we ever want a real shot at combating ad fraud in CTV.
You mentioned the commercial incentives as perpetuating fraud's growth. What is it that the industry needs to do to address it?
It's a great question. Anti-fraud solutions have progressed, which is great, but in my view, they haven't really contained the issue. The explosive growth of CTV and the amount of money, the amount of investment going to the space really makes it imperative to do so. The way I see it is, first and foremost, if you are representing media, holding media, selling media, the onus is on you to verify inventory quality. You need to invest in verification methods that are open and auditable to other players in the space. For their part too, brands need to come to the table more as well. Brands need to demand transparency, and vendors they work with and set high inventory quality standards and do not deviate from. So when we all have skin in the game here, we're able to build a level of accountability, especially as we move toward, or at least I think we should move toward, a system of universal penalties, clawbacks, and other types of punitive measures. So bottom line here is that self-regulation never works unless it's universally adopted and enforceable. We as an industry are really good at guidelines and best practices. We have to move beyond that. We have to move from best practices to concise and concrete actions if we ever want any attempt at reducing ad fraud in CTV. It's that shared responsibility that is absolutely key here.
Recognizing that all the players of the industry need to recognize that they have skin in the game, publishers often regard this is largely an advertiser problem, but ad fraud does hold back ad spending to publishers. Do publishers need to realize that?
Absolutely. I think, I hear that often too, but this is an industry-wide problem and it needs an industry-wide solution. That makes total sense, but folks that are representing media absolutely have to verify their own inventory, but it does require solutions from agency side, from buy side, from all the folks in between.